Welcome back to part 2 of this interview with the amazing Alice here on Animals, Nature, and You. I'm not going to do the full introduction that we normally do. We're just going to roll right into it. If you haven't, though, listened to part 1 yet, please jump back and listen to part 1. Came out yesterday. Part 2 today, we're going to pick up where I asked her the question, which is better to work at and start at, big zoo or small zoo? I really want to know her opinion on this because she has done so much work in so many different zoos, and she has worked with a lot of different keepers, so she's got a really good insight to this. So with that, I'm just going to lead right into the interview. And one last note, though, real quick, if there's anything Alice mentions or I mentioned in this interview you want more information on, our social media links and websites and everything else will be down in the show notes below in the YouTube or wherever you might be listening to your podcast. It'll all be there. Okay, with that, I'm going to wrap it up. We're going to jump right into me asking that question, and we get to listen to Alice's answer. Because it's usually, the question is usually which is better. And I know there's not, my response to that was always, it depends on what you think better means.
Totally.
So I want your perspective, pluses and minuses of looking at, working at, starting at a big zoo versus small zoo.
Yeah, totally. And I think I've spent more time in little zoos and small zoos than I have in big. And, you know, I started, you know, if you start strong somewhere like Brookfield Zoo, as I said, you know how great that institution is. They,
sure,
you know, have a lot of keepers, a lot of money and resources to throw at things, right? And
right. And so we tend to see that in the big zoos here in the States.
Absolutely.
Bigger zoos tend to have the larger resources, larger financial ability to do bigger things.
Yes. That's it. I mean, I always gravitate more towards this, and it also depends on what kind of person you are, right? Like, because I gravitate more towards the small zoos because I like wearing many hats and being able to make a difference at the small zoos. So prior to my job, I've been at my job for the last year, nearly coming up to 2 years, and I worked 2 zoos. I've done this several times. I don't know why I've done it because it's such a silly thing to do where I work 2 zoos at the same time. Which is insane.
It's resume building. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, sure, yes. Fast tracking my way to having worked at every zoo in the UK. But yeah, I think, and I've worked at 2 zoos at the same time. And at one point, I was working at a big zoo and a small zoo at the same time. And like I was working at ZSL, which is an incredible organization, the Zoological Society of London, which is historic and, you know, epic and, you know, one of the titans of the UK industry when it comes to zoos. And, you know, the work that's gone on there and the level of keepers they churn out, they'd raise you to a very high standard. I was working at there at the same time was working at a privately owned small zoo in the countryside in the middle of nowhere, you know, where it's, 4 acres in total, which is, I don't know. Do you use acres in
yeah,
the
oh
States?
yeah.
Okay, good. It's like, is this a metric system? Like, am I getting this wrong? No. So a very, very small zoo comparatively, to my other zoo, which was absolutely huge, is ZSL Whipsnade Zoo. And I gravitate more towards the small zoos because I'm a doer. Like, I like doing things and I like improving things. I don't like leaving things. I always like leaving things in a better state than when I found them, right? And so I spent 6 years there sort of building up training programs. I actually, a lot of my job as well, I was getting a lot of, this is a bit of a weird thing to say. I was getting a lot of free stuff for the zoo. So I was writing to local companies, to businesses to see if we could collaborate on projects. I was helping to sort of build up old parts of the zoo that were a little bit dilapidated or getting new enrichment, getting an enrichment shed, bringing in, a new jetty so we could go out to Lima Island. I was doing a load of just gathering resources, making connections for the zoo as well on top of my zookeeping role. And I just think if you're the kind of person that likes to be part of a big machine, right? You are a part of a well-oiled machine. You'll be treated, arguably a bit better. And my time at ZSL, they treated you very well. They paid you very well. You got great benefits. I can recommend working for a bigger zoo. But if you like the sort of I don't want to say down and out. That's not really what I mean. The underdog. Like, I think,
right.
If you want to help be a part of building something up, then I think work at a small zoo. And both are great and both are fine. And you might want to do different ones at different parts of your career. I think it's, very, very okay to just work at a bigger zoo and, be part of this. And you know how it is. Rick, working as part of San Diego Zoo must have been incredible and the dream job. And, I echoed a similar sentiment when I worked at London Zoo and ZSL because it's, such a great charity to be a part of, and the conservation work they're doing, it made you proud to be a part of it, right? To be part of
Yeah.
something much bigger than yourself that's got this historic and cultural value. And small zoos perhaps won't have that, but they most likely you'll be able to sort of make more of an impact and wear more hats and learn more skills even there, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, I'm pretty much the same opinion. So before I landed at the San Diego Zoo, I spent about 7 years bouncing around to different organizations and companies, profit, nonprofit,
Yes.
domestic animal work and training versus exotics, conservation work, etc. And then when I was at the San Diego Zoo, we partnered a lot with smaller zoos for different projects. And so I got to go to these smaller zoos and visit them. Also, part of my job was working with our program with children's hospitals. So we would travel to other cities and then
yeah.
partner temporarily with that zoo there to film
Yeah.
things at that zoo so the kids in those hospitals could then see things from their zoo.
I
So
love that.
I've seen the gamut here across the
Yeah.
United States when it comes to big and small and everything in between. And I agree with everything you said. It is the big zoo can really help in feeling you're part of the bigger picture. They have
Yes.
more but with that, then there's more red tape, more politics, more people involved
100%.
with making decisions.
100%.
You get to have this job that you do, and that's what smaller organizations, bigger impact, less red tape. You might have to
Yeah.
wear multiple hats, which if that's your thing,
Yeah,
is a
totally.
great thing, right?
Sure.
So that's what my response to them when people ask me like, which is better? I'm like, well, it depends on how you define better,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
really up to the individual. And I love how you put it too, that it's good to do both, explore
Yeah.
both, and have a
Absolutely.
better understanding of yourself from doing that. So yeah,
Yeah, and I think you'd just be at different points in your career doing both, you know? Like you might want
exactly.
to, start at a big place that trains you up to a level and, as I said, the amount of knowledge and wisdom and standard of care that I learned from working at a big zoo, I brought all of that to my small zoos and said, hey, look, we don't have to have ZSL's resources or money to be doing X, Y, and Z. We can make
Yeah.
our own little version of this, and it just depends on where you are in your career. Or you started at a small zoo and you learn the ropes there and you graduate to a bigger zoo and sort of take those skills as well. It depends on so much. You're totally right. Yeah. More
Yeah.
red tape
Yeah.
in the large zoos is like you couldn't have said that better. Just it's like
Personal
sometimes a lot of
experience.
faff it's a lot of what we call faff in the UK just to sort of get through it at times. It's a bit of a pain, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you're gonna have fun.
There's pluses and minuses to both.
Absolutely.
And so this part of the discussion here with you is perfect. It really rolls into how I would like to wrap this up, this conversation with you. You have started this program that was initially a small nonprofit in the UK for keeper
Mhm.
exchange and
Yes.
education, and talking about working with small zoos and big zoos. It really plays into this well in the sense of, and now it's growing into America. Can you expand a little bit more about what this program is? And then I got a couple
Yes.
questions about about
Absolutely.
the program. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at its core, Keep is an organization that is all about the exchanging of knowledge, right? And not everybody. I love a conference. Don't get me wrong. You'll see me at a conference like all the time, just chatting. Unsurprisingly, at the breaks and at the bar at the end of the night. But not everybody can sit. Sat still looking at presentations for 8 hours if they go to a conference to meet people, right? Like conferences can be quite emotionally draining, or like draining for you if you're used to having a physical job, right? I find it so difficult to sit, and maybe
Oh, I
again,
fall
this is
asleep during all the time
oh yeah,
because I'm so used to
absolutely,
constantly moving around. It's like I have to be
absolutely.
doing something physically, otherwise my body's like, oh, it's time to nap.
Exactly. Yeah. Or I just end up eating snacks the whole time. I've got a plate of snacks as I'm watching the presentations. But so not everybody learns from conferences, and you can learn some great things from conferences and seeing what people are doing,
Oh,
across
absolutely. Yeah.
across the country or the world about what they're doing with their animals and projects and everything like that. But we figured that, learning on the job or shadowing people at a different zoo for, as I said, a few days if you're in the UK, because the UK is very small and you can kind of get away with nowhere's more than like a 6-hour journey from each other pretty much in the UK. It's, it's a very kind of small island. But a few weeks, let's say if you're in a larger country like the States. So, spending some time at other collections, other facilities and organizations, I think can be really useful, not only just to network with your, fellow like-minded, passionate individuals, but just to pick up new ideas. And it could be, something small as, oh, you use those buckets instead of, oh, okay, great. Or, oh, okay, you use that for enrichment. Oh, okay, great. And, you bring all those little things back to your collection, to your zoo, to your aquarium. And it just makes, I don't know, I think you feel refreshed. Like, this is so funny that this loops back around because we are talking now, but I actually had my first ever keeper exchange experience at San Diego Zoo in like 2012. I spent a day on the birds team. Oh my God, it was one of the best days of my life. I mean, first of all, as a baby keeper, and I was getting to spend a day. I had a friend that used to work at San Diego Zoo who kind of hooked me up with a day on the birds team. And it was amazing. I got to learn so much and meet new people, and just like I got to help with some things. And I came out of it so buzzed and excited that I'd been somewhere and got to learn, especially San Diego Zoo, right? Like that's just, the mecca of zoos. It's, everyone flocks there to kind of learn how it's done. And so I think, we started keep in mind that we wanted to exchange this information. We wanted to bring the zoo industry closer together. So what we do is we speak to zoos and aquariums to see if they'll host zookeepers for, a certain amount of time. We're very liberal with the times because we know that zoos, have a lot going on. We say, hey, can you host a zookeeper for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, once a year, twice a year, everything like that. The zoos sign up with us. The keepers sign up with us. It's all free of charge in the UK. I believe with Keep AZAC, it will be as part of your AZAC membership that you can access the Keeper Exchange benefits. But I believe that's how it's going to go. And yeah, it's we've been running that, as I said, for 3 years, and with world domination in mind. The longer we've been doing this, the more like, hey, we got to reach out to these guys. What about these guys? Or this zoo association will reach out to us, and we're like, yeah, let's work on a project for this. So that's a bit about what we do in essence is, encouraging people to get out there and visit other zoos and aquariums to learn how they do things, swap ideas, network.
You in your answer here and how you explained all of this, you kind of answered my question that's coming up, which is, my follow-up question was like, why is this important? But you've kind of laid that out, the importance of sharing knowledge and networking and exposure to other places to reinvigorate you, expand your knowledge. So I'm going to change the question just a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
Why is this important to you?
Oh my goodness. No one
because
has ever asked me that.
Listening to you describe this, you were very passionate about talking about what you and Matt are doing. You were very passionate and excited about sharing how you found your way into zookeeping and working at different zoos. But when you were describing this, there was a certain level that just seemed to come up in your energy.
Oh,
and
that's surprising to me. I have a lot of energy. Like, I went from a 10 to an 11. What do you mean?
I was more of a 12. It was more of a 12. Yeah. No, but seriously. So instead of why is this important? Because I think you covered that in describing what it is. Why is this for you, Alice? Why is this important to spearhead this and keep? Because it's not easy to launch something like this, and now you're going international with it, and you're persistent about it. Why is it important to you?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And sort of as you were speaking there, I was sort of trying to rack my brains for an answer that makes sense and that I could articulate, with trying to drop a lesson in it, maybe. I don't know, trying to say something wise. And, I think ultimately at its core, I was given that opportunity. I came to San Diego Zoo. Somebody sorted that out for me. And I loved it so much and had such a great time, and I got so much from it. And every single time every single person that goes on a placement in the UK, I will message them directly, whether it's I slide into their DMs or I email them, depending on if I know them or not. And I will say, how did it go? Did you have a great time? Every single person. And any single time I get photos, I get videos, I get a paragraph about how much of an amazing time they had, my heart grows 10 sizes because, that's the sort of stuff that you just love to see in the industry, of people getting a little bit closer together. And I get so much from the connections that I've made with people over the years, and, talking to different people and learning different things. And I'm so happy that I can provide a service or help to provide a service. It's a team effort, it's not just me. that offers that to other people. With the keeper exchanges, this is not a new thing, right? People have been doing this
Correct.
sort of thing for
Yeah.
ages, right?
Yeah.
And how I've understood it in the years prior to setting something up, your curator or perhaps you would call up a zoo or message someone and say, hey, can I just spend a couple of days or like a week with you guys? We're getting this new animal in. I know you guys have them, or I've got a week off here. I'd love to spend some time. But for those people and that are less extroverted or less, confident in that sort of thing, anyone can apply. You apply to a placement just like you would a job, right? You don't need to be, it's not about who you know or how many connections you have. You can throw your hat into the ring. If you are a keeper that's been working a year in a tiny zoo in the middle of nowhere on an island, you can say, hey, I want to come and learn here. I want to come learn at San Diego Zoo. And you will be considered. They will look at your application and say, okay, great, this person could really benefit from learning with us. So, okay. Does that answer your question? Does it?
Sort of. So it's funny. It's funny. I love behavior, and I studied animals for years, and I got into studying humans because I wanted to reach humans better with my wildlife education. And it's funny, as you're trying to describe why this is important for you, you kind of touched on it, but then went into justifying the importance.
Oh, okay.
Which is a normal thing. So because what I'm seeing, and I'm going to call you out on this because I know we can have this discourse.
Go for it.
Is you're trying to describe a feeling.
Yes.
Because and we have a hard time as humans putting words to feelings because it's not a tangible thing.
Yeah.
And as much as I'm calling you out on that, what I'm hoping my audience gets from this is that you at your core have this innate desire to connect people and also connect them to what you got connected to when you got a chance to go to the San Diego Zoo in an exchange. Yeah. That was so meaningful and impactful for you. You're like, I need to give that to other people. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think it's a beautiful thing. So, if my interpretation of what I just heard from you, why this is important to you is because it's a heart-centered thing for you to do this for others, and you see value in that. And I think that's wonderful. I can't thank you enough for putting this effort into this type of a program, because when it comes to the zoo world, the zoos of today are the foundation of what's going to save this planet, save this wildlife, save us as humans. And so the fact that you're investing so much of your time into creating a space that improves the zookeeper experience, the zookeeper knowledge, is so impactful. And another great example of how we can do things for wildlife and for nature, for conservation, that is not necessarily a direct line to, I'm saving this rhino from being poached. You know, it's so awesome. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing.
I appreciate that. And I think, I hope that you'll agree with me on this. And whether it's conservation projects in situ or in the wild, or if it's something like a zookeeper exchange program, you've got to start with the people first, right? Before you can get to the animals, it has to be with the people. And, one of the mottos of keepers, like happy keepers equals happy animals, right? And if you are invested in if you know that your employer cares about you enough to send you to San Diego Zoo for 2 weeks or whatever it might be, if they feel happy and invigorated from coming back from, going to another zoo and meeting new people, making new friends and learning lots of new cool stuff, they bring that to their job. They bring that to their animals. And, in a world where we're losing a lot of very talented zookeepers who with a lot of knowledge, right? A lot of knowledge is being lost because a lot of people, as you know, age out of the industry, right? Through, money problems, through whatever it is. Their body is sort of, it's a very labor-intensive job.
It's a labor-intensive job. I know more people who've left the business before retirement age just because the body can't
gave
do
out
it anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And, with those people, with those, people that have been in the industry that long and then just going like that, we lose a gap of knowledge, right? But if you can share that knowledge before those people leave, if those people can mentor other people from different zoos, or maybe they stick around a little bit longer because their zoo invested in them to go out into Madagascar or Costa Rica for, to go and help with a project there. Maybe they hang on a little bit longer. Everybody and the animals are to benefit, but you've always just got to start with the people, right? I think that's just, the most important, it's not the most important thing, but it's an important building block in helping the animals.
Sure. I mean, and that's a conversation I've had with other guests too when we talk directly about conservation. It's about going into the native spaces and working with the people who live there. So sort of what
Yes,
you and Matt, when you went to Madagascar as an example, it was a
100%.
big opportunity to also help and work with the local people in those
Absolutely.
spaces that helps the wildlife in the native space as well. So
Yeah.
it's all connected. It's all connected.
Community-led projects are just the way forward, and it's you can't do any. I say can't. It's tougher to do more impactful conservation work if you haven't involved the local communities, right? Because
Right.
you can set up shop and you can do your research and everything out there, but as soon as you pack up and go home, who is going to look after the work that you're doing, or get involved with the work or benefit from the work, anything like that. So it has to be community led to be successful, I think. So
Yeah.
starting with the people is important.
And I think, that is the same sort of message here with the zookeepers. Invest in your
Yeah,
zookeepers,
100%.
and you're going to invest in your animals. You're going to invest in a better experience for your guests to get people more excited to come back and support the zoo,
Yeah,
support conservation efforts and everything else. So yeah, I love it.
absolutely.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So
Yeah.
as we're getting ready to wrap up here,
Yes.
let's lay it out for everybody. Of course, I'll put everything in the episode notes as far as how to get a hold of you, where the different links are. But
Yeah,
let's
sure.
talk about where people can find you, get in touch with you, whether they just want to find out more about your work, whether they want to get
Sure.
involved with what you and Matt are doing, or whether they want to get involved with the Keep program.
Yes.
Lay it all out. How do we find you?
Let's do it. Okay. If you want to, the easiest way to get a hold of me directly, I'd say it's probably through Instagram. Like, I do check my messages, whether it goes into sort of the, junk or spam inbox, the like requests. That's where I
The
was looking
request,
for.
yeah.
Not
It's the
spam.
request.
You know what I mean?
The request file, yes.
The request file, whether it goes into there or directly into my inbox, I do check it, and I do see messages from people, and so if you do want to get a hold of me, my Instagram is Arsehole Animals with Alice. That's the easiest way, ASS, rather than the British way of spelling arsehole, which is ARSE. Asshole Animals with Alice is me. That find me on Instagram. If you want to learn more about the Keeper Exchange program, if you're in the States, if you're located in the States, the AZAC website actually has a fantastic little page and drop down that talks about Keep AZAC, which is launching this year. They're going to be putting out some of their first placements. You can keep up to date with them. Obviously, follow AZAC on Instagram and Facebook as well. You can go on.
Just for those listening who don't know, AZAC is American Association of Zookeepers. I'll have the link down below as well.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Yes. American Association of Zookeepers. And if you want to find out more about the Keeper Exchange program, you can find us at keeperexchange.org. That is the UK site, though. If you're listening from the UK, great, or from Ireland, that is for you. But if you're in the States, you're probably better off going to the AZAC, the American Association of Zookeepers website, to find out more about it. If you want to find out more about clouded leopards and the Clouded Leopard Working Group, who are a fantastic clouded leopard charity, may I add, based all the way in Nepal. They're an incredible. If you love clouded leopards, if you know what they are, and you think they're the most beautiful cat species, which is the correct opinion to have, you can go on to their website, which is cloudedleopardpartners.org, or you can find them on Instagram at Clouded Leopard Working Group. Well, who else? Pardalis is very new. I don't know if I, like if you do want to message me about Pardalis, absolutely find me through Instagram. But and you can find out more on pardalistalent.com if you want to know a little bit more about what I do with Matt, or what the business is about. I think that's it. I think I named everything, didn't I?
You covered it, yeah.
Keeper Exchange, Awful Animals. I can't even keep track of the things I do, Rick. There's so many things.
I love it.
Just message me on Instagram, wonderful. Guys. If you're listening and you want to know more, just give me a message on Instagram.
Fair enough. I will put all the links down below, though, just in case. But yes. And even if you are not even sure about clouded leopards, I would say go to that website and check them out, learn more about them, because you'll fall in love with them. They are amazing. I worked with tigers, lions, a leopard, hands-on with ocelots and servals, and I've always admired clouded leopards. But then when I got to actually work with them back to back, in conjunction, in partnership with Point Defiance Zoo years ago, and at the San Diego Zoo as well. Oh my gosh, they're just so amazing. They're amazing cats, and the more you learn about it, you're like, wait, what?
Yes.
But
One
we
of
could go a
two
whole other
cat
episode about
species.
that. So
Yeah, oh, totally. I mean, if you want to bring me back on just to talk about clouded leopards, we can do an hour and a half on that. Yeah.
We might.
Please, honestly, love. One of two cat species that can climb down trees head first. I'm just saying, guys, incredible.
Like my
they're
favorite
just
animal, the
beautiful.
binturong, does, because they can rotate those back legs around. They're awesome.
That's it.
So awesome.
Their binturongs are so good. Yeah, that's a great choice of favorite animal. Oh,
They
stunning.
picked me. I didn't pick them.
As is the way. That's
right?
so true. That's so true. Yeah, you don't start this thing being like, that's going to be my favorite animal. It chooses you. You're so right.
Well, Alice, I appreciate you so much, as you know, and thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy with all you do, and you're working both hours there in the UK, and then you work hours here in America because you do so much with the US as well. And as if it's not far enough away, you're also doing West Coast hours. So
I know, right? 8 hours
having that
difference.
extra chunk of time there. But thank you so much for taking the time to be on Animals, Nature, and You. I appreciate your time and I appreciate you. And I think I probably will be having you on again so we can talk about clouded leopards.
Oh, anytime. You know, just give me a call, Rick. I'll be there. Just say when. Just say when.
All right.
I loved it. Thank you so much for having me, Rick.
You are very welcome. Thank you. And as always, thank you so much, dear listeners. I appreciate you joining me on this curious odyssey known as Animals, Nature, and You. And what a pleasure to have some time with Alice. You know, it's funny. I always schedule these things thinking, okay, they're 30, 45 minutes, but we go on for so much longer because there's so much great information. And talking with Alice was no different. She did cover a lot of things, so if there's anything she mentioned you want more information on, as I said during the interview, those links are down below in the show notes. Along with, if you want to follow along, Animals, Nature, and You has its own social media handle on Instagram. That link is down there with my website too, zoologyrick.com, and all of my social media. You can get a hold of me there, connect if you'd like, whatever it may be. I also want to remind you, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe or follow on your podcast player or on YouTube if you're watching there. That way we make sure you don't miss the next episode. Every Tuesday we have 10-minute episodes that sometimes go a little bit longer that are about something we reflect back on the previous conversation or something topical that's happening in the world today with animals, nature, conservation, whatever it might be. Then every Thursday, like this episode, we have a great interview with someone who's pretty awesome, doing some awesome work, and we get to hear all about it. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks again for being here. I appreciate you. Appreciate the connections we're making and all of you who are sharing these podcasts too. By the way, the numbers are growing. It's pretty cool to see. So thank you so much for that. All right. Have a good one, everybody.